My school denied me my legally prescribed medication. Little did they know I'm very close with a local celebrity. Growing up, I suffered lots of mistreatment from my stepmother. My mother tirelessly battled to win custody of me, but my father, seen as a good Christian and financially well off, had the upper hand. Also, he didn't associate with black people, which influenced the situation given where we lived. My mom's efforts only succeeded when I reached an age where my views were taken into account. I switched from a fancy, extremely competitive, snobby private school to the local public school by choice. I dyed my hair green and put a gay pride sticker on my car. Based on where I was coming from alone, I was a C student at the fancy school, so it was not my grades. I was placed in all the honors and AP classes the school offered. Teachers didn't know what to think of me. I had green hair. This was considered absolutely shocking at the time, and my friends and I were bullied for many things including this. My bumper sticker was definitely the most controversial topic in the entire school. But I was quiet. I came from a fancy school. I paid attention in class. I was earning straight A's. Thankfully, although most of my peers shunned me, my teachers realized pretty quickly that I was a decent enough kid. I had a problem where I got migraines. I finally got a prescription for them, non-narcotic, and took it straight to the nurse's office because the district had a zero-tolerance policy, and being in possession of even Tylenol would get you expelled for substance possession. Nurse, you're going to have to get the doctor's signature on this form. Me, why? It's a legitimate prescription with my name on it, in the original bottle. Nurse, condescendingly, we're required to have a doctor's signature before we can dispense medications. Me, giving 0 Fs, how do you think I got the prescription in the first place? The nurse decided to impress upon me the fact that I was powerless here, and that there was absolutely nothing I could do except comply. I left the office stressed because I didn't have access to my migraine medicine, and of course ended up stressing myself out into developing a migraine. Call me a Karen, but I felt entitled to go to the nurse's office and be dispensed my medication, and so I politely requested it be given to me. The nurse obviously told me no, so I asked for the principal. Got the assistant principal, who just simply reiterated district policy. Then it occurred to me that it was within my power to get my medicine, because I had a secret weapon. So I had to be sneaky. Me, I'd like to call one of my parents. This phone call wasn't intended for my dad, a financial consultant. It wasn't to my mom, who worked in sales and advertising. Of course I wasn't calling Stepmonster. But my stepdad, on the other hand, just happened to be our region's most famous radio talk show host at the time, and he was on the air for another 2 hours. The assistant principal brought me the phone book, those existed back then, and I looked up the radio station's number in the yellow pages without the assistant principal figuring out which business I was calling. I called the radio station and got the front desk. Of course lots of people call them, ask for him, and get absolutely nowhere. But I knew they would interrupt his show and he'd take the call if I told them I was his daughter Royal. In all my life, I had never had a situation that warranted me calling him at work. I was hoping he'd take the call while on air, but he didn't want to air what was likely private business, so he put commercials on while I explained the situation. Then I suppressed a grin while handing the phone to the assistant principal to talk to my stepdad, Bill. I managed a poker face. The assistant principal didn't realize he was talking to Bill Jones when he dismissed my concerns, and even suggested I should be denied my medication simply due to my pants, which I'd been wearing half the year without problem, but apparently were a uniform violation that day. The assistant principal basically explained that's just how it is and tough luck, and did not realize the crap he just stepped into. He hung up, dismissed me, and walked off looking pretty self-satisfied at winning his little power trip. I went to class feeling victorious. I hadn't won yet, but I played my cards and knew how it would turn out. My stepdad got back on air and immediately changed the topic of discussion to the ridiculousness of the district's medication policy. The phone lines lit up. Turns out lots of people wanted to air their complaints. I was sitting in class, migraine kicking in. But I was feeling satisfied that their lack of respect for me, and all other more powerless students, was hitting the fan. I timed it. 45 minutes after I was arrogantly denied my legally prescribed medication that I needed, the assistant principal came into the classroom I was in, knelt down beside my desk, and whispered, "Hey, you want to come take your medication?" Fallout, even more fun, because the school wanted desperately to expel me. But while I 100% can be a troublemaker when I want to be, I never did anything for which I could have defensively been disciplined. They had nothing on me. I knew it. They knew I knew it, and they knew they couldn't get away with making crap up because, Bill Jones. All my friends were seniors, and the school admins didn't realize until the last day of school that I was a junior. I could see the panic in the assistant principal's eyes. "Assistant principal, you can take one summer course in English and you'll be able to graduate early." Me, absolutely not. I haven't submitted any college applications, and most of the competitive schools I'll be applying to require more than the basic minimum to graduate. I'll be here for another year. Assistant principal, would you like to take your high school classes at the community college instead? You'll get high school and college credit. This was a barely heard of program at the time, but they wanted to get rid of me so badly, I got to rack up a year's worth of college general education credits during my senior year. They tried to screw me over, so I screwed back, and since they couldn't punish me, they rewarded me just to get me to go away. Am I the a-hole for transferring my assets to my daughter before my marriage? I, F28, had my daughter, F9, while still in college. I am ashamed to admit I don't know who the dad is. It was a drunken party mishap. My parents disowned me, and sympathizing with my plight, my grandpa took me in. He had a bad relationship with my dad. Grandpa died 2 years ago, leaving me his entire estate. He was kind of rich. I started dating my fiancé Max, M35, around 4 years back. He has 2 kids, F6, M10, he has full-time custody of as well. Their mom married someone else and moved across the country. She pays child support but makes no effort to contact them or visit them. We have lived together for over a year now, and everyone gets along pretty well. We stay at the house my grandfather left me and split all bills and expenses 50-50, but keep rest of the finances separate. He popped the question 2 months ago and I said yes. Few weeks ago we had a minor fight. My daughter's birthday is coming up and I wanted to gift her a pony. She has been learning to ride for a few years now and really want one. When I mentioned this to Max, in a passing conversation, he got mad at me for wasting our money on stupid gifts like this. I told him I am not taking anything out of our budget and just buying it out of my money. He said then I should buy his kids ponies too to make it fair. I said sure, let's split the expense. He told me I should buy it myself since I am rich and it is my decision to buy my daughter a pony in the first place. That he is trying to make it equal for all kids in the household and don't have money to waste like this. I got his point. But I also felt that he would want me to make everything equal with his kids too. I get they will be my kids too and I should not treat them different. But I also felt like my daughter should not have to split her generational wealth. It's not mine, it's my grandpa's. And he loved her. He left it to me believing I would pass it on to her. So I made a trust fund transferring 50% of assets I inherited into that. It has rules regarding reasons I can make withdrawal out of, like education and separate living allowance based on age, money for marriage, for house and entire balance made available at 30. I set up another trust fund for myself, putting 30% assets into it with yearly allowance and then to dissolve after 50, hoping to retire then. Balance 20% is mostly the house, land and emergency funds. I did it so whatever income I earn, I will be able to make it equally split within kids. But inheritance will stay intact for my or my daughter's future without having to be split or used for my stepkids. My fiancé found out about this a couple of days ago. Saw some related papers in my drawer. He was really mad at me for cutting him and his kids out. He said if I was marrying him, we would be sharing all assets and finances. That it's not fair for me to keep 90% of my wealth just to myself and my kid when he is sharing all of his with us. I said I was sharing everything I make too, just the inheritance is kept aside. He is not bringing any inheritance into the union either. He said that's because he has none and it's incredibly selfish of me to not share. To lock it away. That with this, my daughter will have a luxurious life while his kids have average life only, since there is no way we can afford all that for them with our income only. I said generational wealth is separate and it should go to bio family. He called me a for discriminating and depriving his kids of an equally good life. Am I the a-hole?